being like, hey, they only won, they were the worst team 2 years ago. They only won 4 games last year. Now they're in the Super Bowl. Why not the Giants? And there was a big pause. And Brian Dable was like, I'm just trying to get my staff together right now. I'm not going to bring up any wild
Give
predictions.
me a break, please. Come on.
So
take a minute.
Well, I wish him luck. He inherits Daniel Jones, who is no Josh Allen, baby. You can't. That's a mummy with most of the tape tore off at this point.
A what?
A mummy with most of the tape tore off. I mean,
You, sir, are no Josh Allen.
Yeah. They've got to go ahead, spend some money, bring in Russell Wilson or somebody to really turn that around. But I don't see Russell Wilson wanting to go to a team that really has suspect receivers, grade C running backs. It's just not, So
ouch. Look, I know Saquon's been injured these last 2 years.
Saquon is done. Okay.
You might be right. And I will agree with you on this. I said I think he was the best hire as a coach. I'm not disagreeing with you that it wasn't the best job. I would say no, it was not. I agree with you. And if you listen to
that's Saquon on line 1. Do you want me to hang up?
Just send him through to me. I'll tell him, buy yourself a Starbucks franchise, baby, because you're just going to be running cups of coffee to people. You ain't running on the NFL anymore.
All right, Saquon Starbucks. It kind of works. All right, take the next.
Now, speaking of, how about our boy Nathaniel Hackett?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I like that.
Do you think he took that because he thinks he's going to get our favorite prickly pear? I mean, does he have a shot at that? I don't think so personally, but
makes for good TV.
If he could get Rodgers there, because Denver does have some pieces. They really do. So I would say that Hackett is, to me, ending up probably in the best spot to move forward fairly quickly. So
I think you're right. I think that's
my take on Denver.
Hot take. I think that is a hot bet that Rodgers will think about it.
Oh, I think there's a good chance. Listen, I think he's been their OC for the last 3 seasons. Rodgers was an MVP last year, and he possibly is going to be the MVP this year.
Yeah.
So there is, there has to be, and I also Rodgers stumped for him the previous year to get a head coaching job last year. So Rodgers does trust him and believe in him, and considering how cold and prickly Rodgers can be, I would say it takes a high level of intelligence and also just adaptability to gain his trust. So I don't think. I mean, clearly you look at the relationship you have with Mike McCarthy. If he doesn't believe in you, he just throws you under the bus.
Yeah.
So that is a big feather in the cap for Nathaniel Hackett. His offense, and I'll say this with a lot of these guys, you'll notice a lot of these guys are offensive coaches, and a lot of them come from Shanahan West Coast, where they run a lot of West Coast passing, outside zone run schemes. He usually emphasizes running the ball a lot because he was the offensive coordinator for the Bills in 2013, where Fred Jackson and C.J. Spiller kind of split it up. I think 200 carries apiece, and Fournette and Ivory, they had a lot of carries on that team that almost got to the Super Bowl for the Jacksonville Jaguars. But Blake Bortles screwed it up. And then you have just last year you had Aaron Jones and CJ Dillon. So he likes running the ball. And you look currently at their running back. If they keep Melvin Gordon, and if they keep obviously Williams, the UNC running back last year, he really turned it on. So he's got a good nucleus on what he wants to do. I will say, and again, I think he will be a good coach. And I don't put completely everything in press conference. His press conference was a mess. He seems like again, I think he's a smart guy, but he's just not a guy who does press conference well. And it didn't help that one of the reporters asked him, if you were a Star Wars character, what would you be? He said, Han Solo. because he got the princess. It's like, what the hell's going on here? This wasn't like 50 or 60 minutes in. This was like within the first 15 minutes of Q&A. So
what is wrong with reporters? All right, hit another one. Let's get through these.
How about, let's go to your Chicago boys.
What about Matt Eberflus? Moves over from the Colts.
I don't know what to make of him. I mean, obviously, surely he'll be better than Nagy. So I just wonder about just how they're going to handle Fields and everything. So it's, I guess, he's got a Packers quarterback or whatever.
Right, coach who became the offensive coordinator.
Luke Getsy or somebody.
Luke Getsy.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
He founded that website, Etsy. You've seen it, Etsy? Getsy?
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's something like that.
Anyway, I think that's probably a good move on his part. So we'll see. Chicago at this point, I just worry about them. They haven't been relevant for quite some time, since Lovey probably.
I like the hire. I don't know. You could say I'm biased. That's fine. If you want to say I'm biased, I like the hire, and because of just when you watch him, I don't think he definitely has been. You can tell he's definitely been looking at being a head coach for a long time. He's I believe coached he's been coaching for over 18 plus years. He was the defensive coordinator for Missouri under Pinkel. He worked under Ron Marinelli. You look at what he's done these 4 seasons with the Colts defense. They ranked in the top 10 in takeaways and points allowed most of those years. Those are pretty good indicators to consistently. He believes in the HIT system, where he brought it up, where it's an acronym for hustle, intensity, taking care of the ball, protecting the ball, and smart situational players. And again, I know that seems, but again, you can tell when you listen to the whole thing, he and Ryan Poles definitely have a plan. I'm not saying it doesn't work, but for them to have as intense of a plan that they had for the jump. Yeah. And if you look at their coaching staff, they pretty much have everyone hired. And essentially for their defense, he brought essentially everyone over from the Colts. So that speaks to how much he was liked by the coaches around him. Because essentially Nagy didn't take anyone from KC. I know that's not a knock. I mean, that's the thing. His offensive coordinator, his season was Mike Helfrich. He didn't even know who he was.
He took the headset man, I think, is what he did.
Yeah, and Luke Getsy, he had a interview for the Denver Broncos job, and also Rodgers believes a lot in him too. So those are big. So I like him, and like I said, I thought the press conference was weird. He's never going to be like super. He's kind of like, again, he feels like, because he comes from the Dungy tree, even though he never worked for Dungy, he has like a soft spoken kind of demeanor to him. He's never like hyper intense guy. Right. So like, he's not going to be a lot of people's cup of tea, but I like him.
What I like about part of this is the Packers cupboard has been kind of cleaned out with Getsy, and then they formerly mentioned Nathaniel what's his name? Hackett. Yeah, those guys used to run the offense with Rodgers, and they're both gone. So now LaFleur is by himself there to pick up the pieces. But the one thing I don't like is the GM said, we're going to take back the North. Ryan Poles said, we're going to win the North. And you never make that kind of statement in an opening presser. Am I right, Lugs? I mean, come on, you don't say that. You don't do that.
Well, it's just like it's a long drop from there. I'll say that. I mean, and they haven't proven that they can beat Green Bay. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, Rodgers said it. He owns Chicago.
I own you.
I was looking at old Mike McDaniel down there to the Dolphins, the Fishes.
Yeah.
Speaking of coaching trees, so he comes out of Mike Shanahan, the Matt LaFleur, Sean McVay, and Kyle Shanahan. So they all have done pretty well for themselves. So I guess we can expect a lot out of him. And maybe once and for all, he can zone in on what Tua's strength is and see if it's going to work. Let's go ahead. This has been 2 years of just craziness with Tua. It's like finally let's just go ahead and do this, guys. Make the call, get Deshaun Watson or get somebody if you don't like Tua, but let's go on with it. So that's my. I think offensively, given his experience especially at San Francisco and having to deal with a quarterback with only one working thumb on the wrong hand and that sort of thing, that he can coach, and they know how to manage with a quarterback that's less than 100%. So I think it's a smart move. And plus, I mean, what is he, like less than 40 years old? So
yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely a trend, not across the board, but you see like a big makeup of that, of a lot of these hires. Mike McDaniels, if you look at it, again, there are a lot of guys that were attached to Shanahan over the years. The biggest compliment you could say is like he was the guy he kind of put under lock and key and didn't let go, because he was offered, I believe, a OC job at another place, and Shanahan blocked it. So he's noted for being essentially the guy who comes up with a lot of the run designs. So a lot of what Debo did this year, he was kind of the main architect behind. And there's a good piece on NFL.com where Brian Baldinger breaks down a lot of their run play design, where they use a lot of window dressing and motion to actually freeze defenders, particularly middle linebackers, so that they're not even involved in the play. Like they put them on skates. So that's his. I find it interesting, and we'll bring this up with a few people. He's never called a game, and he's a smart guy, so I'm not saying he can't, but like it's a big step up. Like he hasn't called a game. He is entitled, and obviously he's very smart. He might be smarter than Kyle Shanahan at drawing stuff up, or Sean McVay. It's just that he doesn't have a lot of experience in terms of being a coordinator or coaching even higher than that. So that's why I worry. But again, 49ers have been one of the top rushing teams the last 2 out of the 3 years, and he's one of the main reasons because of it. So,
yeah, good knock-up.
While we're there with the Dolphins, I think we need to talk a little bit about Flores and his lawsuit.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's probably necessary. The hoodie sort of let the cat out of the bag by texting the wrong person congratulations.
Yep. Dable.
So, and I think, honestly, I do think that played some part into Lovey being hired at Texas. They had to say that, more diversity there. But Flores, my question, I admire his courage, but I don't know if he'll ever coach in the NFL again. I mean, look what, I suspect what they'll do is he'll get a massive, massive payoff, but it'll be where he can't talk about it. And I don't think, I can see him at a UCLA or some other major college.
So he kind of fell on the sword. He's kind of the Colin Kaepernick of the coaches, you think?
Yeah, because the same thing with Kaepernick. It was a massive payoff, and he was part of the deal was he would never talk about it. So
I find it really interesting because there's a few aspects of it that not only in terms of what you're kind of saying, not only like he's going to interview just so they hit the obligation of the Rooney Rule. Like they already maybe, obviously from the text that Bill Belichick accidentally sent to Flores, it sounds like they already decided on Daboll and they were just checking the box to make sure that they followed the rules of the Rooneys. But I mean, that's not the only one, because obviously that has implications on how maybe they'll readjust the Rooney Rule or add to regulations to allow more diverse candidates to be offered jobs or whatnot. But the things that he brought up that were interesting, particularly in terms of Stephen Ross, the owner of the Miami Dolphins, is that his first year, he said that Stephen Ross offered him $100,000 per game that he lost in 2019 to try to get Joe Burrow, I would assume.
Right.
And obviously he didn't do that. because you look at, I believe he won 5 games, and you look at that roster, how he got 5 wins out of that team is impressive as hell. That might actually think about it, that's